With that, let's move to agenda item 3. If we have the executive director of UHSAA, Rob, come on up to the table, please. This is Utah High School Activities Association, UHSAA. This is their annual report. So we invite Rob, and who do we have with us? Brennan? Perfect. Thank you. And Rob, when you're ready, go ahead and hit that button with the little person symbol on it. There you go. It's red means it's hot, so you're good.
All right, thank you, Chair Hymas, appreciate that. We are excited to be here today for our annual report and to give you a little bit more background of who we are and the handouts that we submitted earlier to you. I just want to first say thank you. Thank you for your service. I thought that first public comment was the nicest thing I've ever heard in public comment. And I hear a lot of public comments. And I told her that when she walked back by. So that's very nice. And we feel the same. We as an activities association have had experience with many of your board members serving on our board of trustees. And of course, Carol certainly or currently does that as well. But we really feel like we need and can have a working relationship with you, our board of trustees, and you as a state board. We feel like we are, as an association, the athletic and activities arm of what you do. We are all education-based. The why is the same. These students that we saw today, that's why we all do what we do, and we feel strongly about that. I know there are several new faces since the last time we came, so Brennan, I thought it might be appropriate, if from permission from Chair Hymas, if we could just take a minute each and give a little bit about who we are and our background.
That would be great, please.
I've read all of your bios online, and I was very impressed on how much experience in activities and athletics many, if not all of you have, either as a parent, a former coach, an administrator. And to me, that was very, very impressive. And I know Carol has told me other things too about some of you as board members who are deeply passionate about high school sports and about activities. And I think that is a win-win for all of us. And I just wanted to state that publicly. My journey began 33 years ago as an English teacher and a basketball coach and an athletic administrator at Mountain View High School in Orem. And I was there for 8 years and applied for the assistant director position at the Utah High School Activities Association in 2001. I was there for 8 years as an assistant director and then applied for the executive director position in 2009. So in all, this is my 33rd year in education, my 17th year as executive director, and my 26th year in the Utah High School Activities Association office. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent. I've had students go to Lehigh High School before Skyridge was built, and then my two youngest went to Skyridge High School. We've always lived in Utah County since 2001, and now we're happy empty nesters. So that's me in a nutshell.
Good morning, my name's Brennan Jackson, and I started my 35-year career in a little town called Milford, Utah, where I was the head football coach and head track coach there, and then had a 21-year stint in a town called Manti, where I was the football coach, became the principal of Manti High School and the assistant superintendent of the South Sanpete School District. My life took a change, brought me back to my alma mater in Kanab, where I became the principal of Kanab High School. And I've always had these roles that I've played in my life that have always surrounded what's best for youth. And I didn't understand or really know how deeply the extracurricular activities had affected me as a child. And my father, who served in World War II, who recently passed away, always said there's two things that you can control in life, and that's your attitude and effort. And that was kind of our family motto. I was raised with 6 brothers, So some of the best wrestling matches I had was at the dinner table. And I was the fourth, the middle child, so I have a unique perspective of things like that. But never did I understand the importance and the power of resiliency that I experienced as a student athlete who also was a lead in the musical in the South Pacific and all those fun things. My parents wanted me to be a well-rounded student athlete. And but when I moved back, my wife of 31 years passed away in Kanab from cancer. I found myself an empty nester and a widower all on the same day. And it was the resiliency of what I experienced as a high school student in extracurricular activities that gave me the strength to move forward. And with my 5 children, our motto as I raise my children is you can do hard things, and I didn't really understand what that meant. But in that moment, losing my wife, I was able to practice what I had preached as an educator, as a teacher, and as a coach, which my life journey then brought me to the Utah High School Activities Association, where I met a lady that lost her husband to cancer, and we live in the little town of Genola. And my wife and I have 8 children together and 30 grandchildren together. And so they're all in Kane County. I have a son in Texas having that experience, in Utah County in the Nebo School District. And so that's kind of my life journey, having a broad experience as a teacher, coach, into the administration. I appreciate what all of you do. And Carol, when I was the principal of Manti High School and the assistant superintendent, she was on my speed dial. And so her and Lindsay were on speed dial. So a lot of great relationships that I have with many of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks again. Sybil, thank you so very much, has handed out a fact sheet that we had put together just for anyone that wants to understand a little bit more about the UHSAA. I believe Terry Davis may have handed this out at a previous meeting. Terry Davis serves as Superintendent Hart's designee on our executive committee, and so she was going to provide that as well. So if she has, I apologize for a second time, but that's just information that you can have concerning us. I also want to say that our website is very valuable in information. It's UHSAA.org. We invite any of you to go to our website and to refer to that. We're a small office staff. I, as executive director, have 5 assistant directors. Each of those 5 assistant directors are directors over different sports, and that information is also found on our website. They're also directors of the activities that we sanction at the UHSAA and have multiple other responsibilities as well as assistant directors. The Utah High School Activities Association has 160 member schools. 124 are district schools, 21 charter schools, and 15 private schools in its association membership. There are nearly 114,000 student participants in high school activity programs across the state. The organization sanctions 138 state championships in 25 sports, and the activities of music, speech and debate, theater, and for the first time this year, we've sanctioned esports throughout 6 different classifications. The UHSA also, in partnership with Special Olympics Utah, conducts student recognition and student opportunities in unified sports in basketball, soccer, swimming, and track and field. The UHSAA is governed by a 15-member board of trustees made up of 6 elected local school board members representing each of the 6 classifications, 3 district superintendents, 3 district principals, a charter school representative, a private school representative, and a state board of education representative. The association is committed to stressing educational and cultural values, improving the participation experience in activities, promoting life skills and lessons involved in competitive activities, fostering sportsmanship, and mutual respect, and assisting those who oversee high school sports and activities in UHSAA member high schools. The Utah High School Activities Association, along with all 50 states, is a member of the National Federation of State High School Associations, or NFHS, which writes playing rules for sports across the nation at the high school levels. Members of our association have the opportunity to serve on those rules committees. The NFHS also conducts national meetings, which we are bringing that national meeting for the summer conference for the NFHS to Salt Lake City in June this year. We're really excited. Salt Lake City has not hosted an NFHS summer meeting since 1978 in the old Hotel Utah. So that was a long time ago. They also have, they also have the, find out where I am here. The NFHS also sanctions events nationally and interstate. They offer online publications and services for high school coaches and referees, and serves as a national source for interscholastic coach and referee training. The governing body and policy-making body of the UHSAA is the Board of Trustees. Superintendent Luke Rasmussen from the Ogden School District serves as the chair of the UHSAA Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees has responsibility for the administration of the assets and actions of the association. The association is governed by a constitution and bylaws, and member schools agree to be subject to those documents. The UHSAA is its member schools. While the staff facilitates and performs many administrative functions, it is the member schools, acting directly and through the Board of Trustees, that determine the direction and policies of the association. Proposed amendments to the Constitution and bylaws may be submitted by any governing board of a member school or any member of the Board of Trustees. The UHSAA Executive Committee is made up of one individual from each of the 22 regions statewide and is organized for the purpose of assisting and administering the policies and directives of the Board of Trustees, including the function of enforcing the rules and regulations of the association. Each UHSAA member high school is assigned to a classification and to a region within that classification. Each member school is represented on the Region Board of Managers. This group supervises and administers activities under the jurisdiction of the association held in its region in conformance with the Constitution, bylaws, rules, regulations, and policies of the association. We have submitted to you a written report in 4 different areas: the association's annual audit, the association's annual budget, the schedule of UHSA events for the 2025-2026 school year, and changes to the association's bylaws since our last report in 2024. The annual audit and the annual budget were both approved by the UHSA Board of Trustees in a meeting held on August 21st of this year. The Utah High School Activities Association advocates for interest of high school activities at local, state, and national levels, influencing policies that protect and promote student participation opportunities. Our commitment is to the values of education-based activities. High school activities must remain with education as the guiding principle, helping students learn life lessons and become responsible adults and productive citizens. I'm going to stop right there and leave time for questions. If you want to go ahead and see if there are any of those, and Brent and I, either one of us, can answer some of those questions.
Thank you. Before we're going to see some questions. Does this conclude your report as well, or do you have additional? Are we just pausing?
No, this concludes the report, and I wanted to leave time for questions.
Thank you.
But also, I recognize that you have handouts as well, and that's part of the report.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, I've got Member Davis first, and then Member Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, I just appreciate you and your staff, and whenever I've had a question or concern, you have been quick to respond and to assist. And I just appreciate all that you do. As a parent of a high school athlete, I also want to thank you for the, countless hours you put in to make this happen for kids. Can you talk to us a little bit about the governance structure? Are we similar to other states? Are there just a variety of governance models? Is most every state governed in the same? It's kind of a self-policing kind of a governance model, it sounds like, but is that the status quo?
Brendan, you want to start and then I can interject? Okay, I'll start, then he can interject. That's fine. So I would say that 90% of the state associations, and every state has an association, including Washington, D.C., so there's 51 state associations across the nation, and they all belong to this NFHS, or the National Federation. Most of those state associations are set up similar to ours, with a board of trustees, which is the policy-making body. We extended a little bit further in Utah, where we have an executive committee that I just mentioned, who helps the staff on the day-to-day. They also approve things such as dates of state tournaments, the formats of state tournaments, the venues for state tournaments. And so they really are there to assist us, and they represent every region in our association. And then on top of that, we have another level, which is the Region Board of Managers, which now allows every school to have a representative. And that's really the grassroots of where proposed amendments may come from when we want to look at a constitution and bylaw change or a policy change, is in those Region Board of Manager discussions. And so we feel like, even more than maybe some other states, we have different levels that lead up to our Board of Trustees. And those other levels are more of a recommending or filter body that then provides recommendations to our Board of Trustees.
Interesting. Chair, may I follow up quickly? Thank you. That's helpful. It sounds like the 10%, 5 states maybe or something. What is their governance structure if they're not exactly how the rest are?
Good question. And I can't speak to it exactly, but on the eastern coast of the United States, they run a lot of their activities and athletics through their Secondary School Principals Association, and they govern that as well, in addition to what they do with the curriculum stuff.
Oh, so kind of like our UASSP or whatever they are.
Correct. Yes.
So all under associations, though, not under necessarily board direction or things like that.
Correct.
Interesting.
And
Thank you.
and just as a follow-up, we have met with UASAP leadership and representatives, and we are looking at ways to improve our relationship with them too, so that they're more involved. But remember that on all of our committees, there are principals that are members of their association.
Helpful. Thank you.
Member Kelly.
One of my most prized possessions is I've got the UHSAA Silver Lifetime Coaches Membership. So 20 years of coaching, you got to before you can get one of those. And proud to say that I got one of those. So
congratulations.
Yeah, and I make sure that I don't lose that thing. But if I do, I know I can get it replaced. But
yes, you can.
I love high school sports. I love the value of high school sports, what it does. How you answer this question may depend on my next comment. But what do board members need to do to get a sideline pass?
We can work on that. We provide one to Carol, and we can extend that to all of you.
I mean,
I know some of you are parents, though, so you got to be good to the referees if you're down there that close.
All right, fair enough.
Because when I wear my parent hat, I'm not always the best sport, unfortunately.
Well, my youngest graduated from high school, so I'm safe for a bit until the grandkids get in there, all right?
Yes, that goes for all of you. Anytime you're going to one of our events, please reach out, and we'll make sure that we can to get that. And we could also provide an annual pass to this board too as well, which I think would be very significant for some of you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I mentioned I publicly a few weeks ago publicly criticized the Utah High School Activities Association and concerning your tennis state tournament. And Rob, you reached out to me as a result of that comment, you invited me to come up and meet with your staff, and we had a great discussion, and I appreciate that effort that you made to reach out to me. But I also just wanted to take this opportunity to publicly, in a public forum, apologize to your staff and let you guys know that I do support your organization, your efforts. And I think that we are on the same team when it comes to looking out for kids and trying to do what's best for kids. So I appreciate that opportunity to meet with your staff and have the opportunity to provide some feedback.
Thank you, and we welcomed it as well. And that goes for everyone. I know some of you have reached out to me lately. Feel free to reach out to me, call me. If I can't help you, I'll get you to one of my assistant directors who can. And if you'd like to come meet with our staff, we want to be open, transparent. We want to be part of the team. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Lear.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob, for that report. I have two things that I wanted to especially say today about the UHSAA. First of all, I've been involved with UHSAA since a long time. Well, a long time. Let me put it that way. I was going to go clear back, but now being on the Board of Trustees, or a part of the Board of Trustees, I've seen even a different side of UHSAA, and two things especially impress me. One, that the leadership of UHSAA is committed to scholar athletes, scholar athletic programs. And I think that partly speaks to their background. Every one of you, as I understand it, I'm thinking maybe one's not, but much of your leadership team has deep roots in public education, like the two of you do. And it's one of the reasons that, in my experience in talking to other attorneys around the country who also work with their athletic associations, it's one of the reasons ours is particularly strong, and our public school athletic association and activities are particularly strong, because we do emotionally invest in public education, not just athletics. So that's one thing I very much appreciate, and I've not seen that up close and personal until I've been on the board and met recently with many of their leaders. The second thing is that UHSAA, and I think this doesn't come out in the media very accurately, runs a tight ship. I was so impressed with your budget review. I'm bored, but it's because I don't do money very well. But I was very impressed with the financial discussion we had in the last board meeting, where every single line item was discussed and explained. And then we spent a half an hour with their insurance provider. I mean, have we ever talked to risk management about our insurance responsibilities as a board? And this association spent at least a half an hour to 45 minutes with our insurance provider, understanding why the rates are what they are, how they could be how they could be different. And I was really impressed at the level of engagement with that aspect of UHSAA. So I have to also say, my children were high school athletes. One of them went on to college athletics, I think because of the strength of the program he was in. My grandchildren are now involved in high school athletics in 2 different states. And I know what a character builder it is. We see the data, but many of us know that personally, how participation in sports makes them stronger students, better people, better team players. And to have a dedication to something is really important. So thanks again. Thanks for the opportunity I've had to serve with you and learn about you. And thank you for the work you do in Utah.
Thank you.
Member Carey.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Cuff, thank you for the presentation today. It was very informative.
You're
and
welcome.
I know that I sent you an email with several questions. To your benefit, I had the opportunity of speaking with Superintendent Rasmussen earlier, and he addressed many of those. So I won't have as many today, but I just have 2 areas that I want to cover in the audit report.
Okay.
And one is, you mentioned 2 pending legal actions And I know that this report coincided with your fiscal year that ended in June. And so could you just give this board an update on where each of these legal matters are? Because in both summaries, there are dates that were mentioned in the future that are now in the past. And so I just wanted to know, could you just update the board on where these matters stand?
Okay, thank you. The association and two school districts, Granite and Jordan, are no longer involved in litigation regarding the student athlete participation in gender designated sports. You may have seen that in the news where that lawsuit has now been withdrawn. So that litigation is now over as we knew it before. Both the districts and us, all three groups were represented at the time by the Office of the Utah Attorney General. So even though it did incur some cost to us, it wasn't an extravagant amount because if you remember in the legislative session that Governor Cox had indemnified the association as well as the districts. And so the Office of the Attorney General's office was representing us. The second item, we're still involved in litigation regarding student visa eligibility. On January 2nd of this year, the district court for the District of Utah granted a preliminary injunction. As a result of that decision, F1 students, those who have F1 visas, are now subject to the same requirements as both domestic students and international students who have a visa other than a J1 visa. So really our J1 students are really the only ones that have a little bit different treatment. But our F1 students are now, as a result of that litigation, are treated the same as our domestic students. The UHSAA filed an appeal with United States Courts of Appeal for the 10th Circuit on June 7th, and that hearing will take place later this month. So that's where we're at with that litigation. So we're down to one. Unfortunately, we're not exempt from litigation, and I wish we were, but when you have passion in sports and every decision we make on a daily basis and our board makes on a daily basis, similar to what you do, there's always another passionate side. And it's always the wrong answer to some.
Thank you. And Chair, I have another question. Thank you. And Mr. Cuff, the other question I have is, and I think I can speak for myself, the contribution of sports in terms of character development and those durable skills that are so important, have always been important, but now seem to have a renewed urgency about developing those. The role that these extracurricular activities play is without question. What I would like to ask, though, is, and I think we have another matter coming before our Law and Licensing Committee tomorrow. There's like another charter school requesting a waiver of the 4-day instructional week. And we've either set a record or we are close to setting a record on the number of schools that are seeking a waiver of the historical 5-day instructional week. When these waiver requests are received, one of the top reasons that are cited is alignment with the sports calendar. So if one school does it, and the neighboring school almost feels compelled, too strong, but they feel like we need to be aligned, so we have to move to the 4-day week. And I know that we've had at least one entire district this year request a waiver of the rule, and perhaps two. So my question would be, through the chair, has UHSAA, and we've done a study session here where our AAG did some fantastic research and presented that, but does does your organization, have you done any research in that area? Are you looking at that and the impact that those changes are making or may make?
Well,
Chair, thank you.
I'll take that question. Thank you for that question. One of the unique things that I've had the opportunity to be a part of is when I was a teacher coach in Milford. We were one of the first schools, high schools, that went on a 4-day week back in 1990. and it was a trial run there that kind of took off in our rural settings because of the amount of travel that student athletes, and that's what we like to call them, not athletes, but our student athletes, so student first, the amount of travel that we were finding in some of our rural areas. And so I think if you look at, and I don't know, but I would assume that it's your smaller school districts that are probably looking at a 4-day week, in moving away from our traditional 5-day because of travel, medical opportunities. We pushed all of those to a Friday with our students when at Milford High School, and the community really bought into that. Where we have such great travel distances for some of our rural areas in Utah, the local LEAs are looking at not only financially, but the amount of time students are out of class. They typically extend their day when you go on a 4-day week so that you get the same amount of instructional time that's required. And to fulfill those requirements, and then regions that those schools are a part of then set the dates and times for their extracurricular activities. And so as a region, they can move more of those on a Thursday night where they don't have school on that Friday, and use Thursday night, Fridays, and Saturdays for their extracurricular activities. So our association doesn't really do a research on how local LEAs are setting that up. We do encourage the regions, and when they do their region schedules, to really look at the time out of class and look at travel. Some schools, when I was in Manti, we had a region games in San Juan, and that was a 5-hour trip. And so we would go down on a Friday, play in San Juan, spend the night, play Grand on our way back through. And so to minimize travel and time out of class, we really left that up to the districts and regions to set those schedules to minimize out of class time.
Chair, follow up. Just to summarize, then it sounds like UHSAA does not have any research into the impact that moving to this 4-day school week may have. And I'm not saying there are no benefits, but I just want to know, is there any research that your organization has or does? And it sounds like no.
We do not do any research on, because we're not sure which schools or districts are going to push to go to a 4-day. And there's so many intricacies on travel, availability to the public services in our rural communities. And so there's a lot of variables that we have not done any kind of research on it.
No. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Member Brinton.
Thank you, Chair. I am just wondering, thank you for responding and for helping. I love the idea of a pass to be able to attend more of our high school events and just go visit schools in the district and show up at games and support would be wonderfully welcome.
We will make that happen.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you for your work. As a mom too of boys, I know how much it enriches the whole experience. And I've talked to superintendents and principals who kind of get frustrated that all the complaints that they get are about sports or dance or cheer, and not parents coming in storming the door for a better education often. And they wish there was more parity there. But I do know, coming from Texas where it was no pass, no play, are there things that we can do? I really appreciate when a coach or a sports team requires more of the student athletes and says, in Washington County, you can't play in a game if you're absent or tardy in classes that day. I love that. And maybe having a higher grade point recommendation, that if you're failing and that's below a C average, you don't get to play. I think it helps the student athletes want to rise and aspire for more. And I just, anyway, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
So thank you for that question. It's interesting because in the state of Utah, from the UHSAA standpoint, we do have a minimum standard of a 2.0,
Okay.
and which would be a C average, and
Okay.
no more than one F. And one of the things the reason that it's set at that, districts and schools can increase that level based on their student population.
Okay.
One of the and the demographics, so socioeconomics is really important. And if you look at the socioeconomics, say here in the valley here, your east side versus your west side, if districts increase that, we want to extend as many opportunities to our student athletes that even in some of those areas of our state where you have many students that are at risk, one of the things that are going to save them is being involved with extracurricular activities. So we want to set the bar that is a challenge, but also does not take the opportunity away from a student whose greatest opportunity in that day is to come to school. That's the most positive thing they have in their entire life, is the time that they spend in the school with that coach. And so districts are encouraged to look at their demographics, their socioeconomics, and if they need to increase that standard, then they can do so. And we have schools that do that, that set a higher standard, and it's based kind of on their student population and what's happening with their students.
Okay. Are you seeing a different, Chair, I'm just wondering if you're seeing a difference with NIL paying college athletes. Is that trickling down and affecting high school sports and parents? And do we need some kind of training for parent behavior on the sidelines again? I don't know.
Well, everything that happens in college will eventually trickle down to high school, unfortunately. High school sports are still the most amateur thing out there, obviously with the turn of what's happened in college. Our NIL rule in high school is that a student could benefit from name, likeness, and image, but they cannot wear the school uniform, they cannot use school equipment, they cannot give their position on the team, so to speak. So if a student A wanted to do a commercial as who they are without any of those distractions or whatever we want to call them, or additions, then they can do that, but they cannot use it representing their school.
I didn't
And most
realize
of the
high
state-
schoolers could benefit from that.
Yeah, we
Wow.
have some in our individual sports who have benefited in swimming, for example, cross country, track. We have not seen it hit the teams yet, but we're monitoring that closely. I know state legislators are monitoring that closely too. If you remember, in the state legislature did do some NIL with college level, and eventually it may have to happen for high school as well.
Okay.
Thank you. We are getting close. We've got 3 more minutes on the agenda, then we want to get you guys back to work, to doing good things. But
Thank you.
Vice Chair Wood has one final question, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick question on your budget. I noticed that for a handful of your activities, your revenues came in less from one year to the next, but I see about a 9% increase in your budget. And how do you anticipate increasing that much when you saw declines in your revenues? And also I noticed that there was a music cost you, but again, there's no budget for music. So just a couple of details.
No, those are really good questions. So as you can see from our budget, that there are really 4 areas, right? There's 2 areas of expenses and there's 2 areas of revenue. The hardest thing to predict is our activities revenue, just because a lot of times what that is ticket sales at our state tournaments. So that's the revenue that comes in when parents and others attend the event and pay for it. So it's only postseason. All regular season money stays with the schools. So we don't govern any of the money for the regular seasons. It's only postseason events. So all of this is only postseason. So when we have, you can see that there are 5 areas that don't bring in any revenue because parents and students are not charged to attend those events. And those are our activities and golf. but they still have expenses. So some of our activities that bring in more than what their activity costs help subsidize, just like in a school, for the other activities that don't bring in revenue. And so that's where you'll see that. So it's a best guess. The factors are, when we look at activities revenue, is who the matchups are, the two schools, because some schools have a bigger following than others and they're just going to have bigger crowds. But the most important is the weather. And some may say, well, how does the weather affect indoor events? Well, getting to and from the venue, the weather affects that as well. And because we have broadcasting rights of streaming and live TV, a lot of times our activities revenue will go down and our corporate sponsor revenue will go up, because that's where our streaming and our live TV revenue comes in, because people are more willing to stay home and watch it than come to the event. So it tries to be an offset. So our board looks at the budget as one big pot, one overall. We try to cancel out the revenue and the expenses each year. We try to carry over a zero. Any excess will go into what we call as our UHSA reserve. And if we have a downfall, we'll pull from our reserve. Our Board of Trustees, many years before I got to the UHSA, put a charge on establishing a reserve. And thank goodness we had that during COVID, because we were able to continue to have events and state tournaments for students, but we had to restrict, at the time, spectators. And our activities revenue was very low during the COVID time, and we had to pull from our revenue. I hope that answered your question, or our reserve, I should say, not our revenue.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, for your questions. Rob, Brennan, thank you for being here and your report. And thank you for being open to any additional questions as we call or have concerns, not only to us, but the public in general as well. Just thank you for all that you do.
What we'll do is, Sybil, if you'll get me a list of all addresses of the board members, then we'll get those complimentary passes to our events out to you as a state board.
Thank you so much, and we will be on our best behavior.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, 14 of us will be on our best behavior. There. Okay.